Hey everyone, and welcome to today's professional development session. Today we are focusing on a very important part of classroom management and special education, which is conducting an FBA or a functional behavior assessment, and also the importance of reliable, robust data collection systems and data options that don't make our lives harder and in ways that make it easier for us. We need data, but we have so much going on in our jobs. It has to be user-friendly and something that everyone on the team can participate in. General education teachers, special educators, paraprofessionals, service providers, support staff, we all share the responsibility of supporting students' academic success and behavior success, and a lot of those go hand in hand. This presentation is designed to guide our team through the FBA process, explain the legal and education importance of accurate data, and review the key dimensions of behavior, break down practical data collection tools like the ABC checklist, time sampling forms, latency sheets that we can all use in our classrooms. So let's begin by looking at high-level leverage practice 10, which instructs us to conduct functional behavior assessments to develop individual student behavior support plans. Creating individual behavior plans is essential skill for all educators. What works for one kiddo is not necessarily going to work for another. And every kid needs to look at as their own individual human, and you need to figure out what works for that student individually. This centers around the FBA process, which is an assessment designed to determine the function of a student's interfering behavior. Behavior prevents learning when it's undefined. So our first step is defining the behavior clearly so the entire team can measure it and support it. And FBA looks closely at the three main elements of behavior: the antecedent, what happens right before the behavior, what triggers them, what leads to it; the behavior itself, which is observable and a measurable action; and then the consequence, which is the outcome of the behavior. And sometimes the consequence is a bad thing, but it can also be something where it leads to more behaviors. So consequences can be reinforcing in both ways. Through numerous observations, there are numerous observations in NFBA. It is not a one observation assessment. You do interviews with the other teachers that have worked with the student, parents, the student themselves, and we act as detectives to build a hypothesis on why the student is demonstrating that behavior. Once the function is determined, we build a behavior intervention plan, and that teaches pro-social replacement behaviors that serve the same function. It alters the environment to make the replacement behavior more efficient than the problem behavior, more appealing, and it alters the environment so the problem behavior no longer accesses its previous outcome, and includes ongoing data collection to monitor the progress. Why is data collection such a vital part of managing interfering behaviors? Why we must collect reliable, valid, defensible data so we know if what we're doing is working or not working. It's a note-taking process for us teachers as well. We can look back and see what worked at this time last year, what didn't work at this time last year, what worked previously with the student, what didn't. It is really a resource to help us out. Unreliable data does a disservice to the student and all the hard work that we're putting into finding solutions. And then we have to rely on our brains more and our memories more when we want to look back and think about what happened a day ago, 2 weeks ago. Take data so it just makes your life easier and your job easier. Data is there to show what's working for the student, and it's certainly not there to judge someone's ability to teach manageable classrooms, to teach or manage classrooms. Is it working? Yes or no? And on we go to the next. Knowing data reflects the student knowing your data, it goes a long way with helping the student find authentic results. And we have a legal obligation to fully serve students under the IDEA. We must be able to demonstrate our reasoning why we're making the decisions that we're doing for academics and behaviors. Concrete, objective data supports every choice we make, keeping us in strict compliance with legal requirements and proving the continuous efforts we are putting into a child. To understand behavior accurately, we break it down using the 7 dimensions of behavior. Frequency, how often the behavior happens. Duration, how long the behavior happens from start to end. Latency, the time that it takes for a behavior to initiate. Let's say we're asking a student's prompted to get to work, how long it takes then for that student for the behavior to start. And you can just use a simple wall clock or a timer to figure out that information. Intensity, how intense, loud, strong the behavior is, and you can measure that from a 1 to 5 scale. Magnitude, you can also measure from a 1 to 5 scale, which is the force behind the behavior. Location, where the behavior occurs in the classroom or where it can manifest on the body. And then topography, how the behavior is physically exhibited, such as shoving or running. When a student demonstrates a target behavior, an ABC checklist can really help us break things down. We can record the date and time something happened. And then instead of writing out words, big giant words, we can just do quick circles or checklists to mark it down. Again, this is something it needs, you're in the height of dealing with something. It needs to be easy on you. So just mark it on the list, give it a circle. And then there's a time sampling form where you can break it down minute by minute, 30 second by 30 second, 5 minute by 5 minute, and say yes or no if the behavior is occurring. And it can be really nice to gauge a behavior in different locations. Like if you eat one meal in the cafeteria and one in the classroom, does that same behavior come about? And then there's a latency recording data sheet, and it's utilized when our primary goal is measuring the response time, tracking the exact duration between a verbal cue or an environmental prompt and the student's initiation with the task. And this helps us evaluate processing time and instructional pacing modification. So if the kid needs more time to process, less time, all of that. To make any of this work, we rely heavily on high leverage practice 1. Collaborate with professionals to design and implement student learning plans. Seamless collection between special education teachers, general education teachers, paraprofessionals, and related service professionals is non-negotiated. We very much need to be on the same page to make everyone's lives easier, with the data collection and carrying out plans. By working together as a unified team, using validated tools, and anchoring our practices in objective data, we ensure legal compliance under IDEA. And most importantly, we are providing life-changing support for our students. Thank you for your commitment and collaboration.